Hello everyone, it's Jay Smitty here, the commissioner of the Oshawott Draft League. Today I'm here to break down how draft day went for the teams and the days following when teams changed with no cap on how many changes were allowed to be made. After all that, I will show you the tier captains of each team. Overall, I will just show you the team and then make a few observations of my own. First up was the EV Elite. The first pick in the draft, they chose Umbreon. I think this surprised everyone. I don't think it's a bad choice. I think it's a great choice, but I'm surprised it went first overall. Further down, you can see they have Manaphy, Armarouge, Mimikyu, Dragonite, Sinistra, and then the Demon Eevee. I think everybody should be scared of that. Next up is the Shellshocks. Their first pick, so the second pick in the draft, was Unova Samurott, the original Samurott. I also don't think anybody thought that Unova Samurott was going to go second, let alone before Hisuian Samurott. You can also see they have Conkeldurr, who is terrifying with the Guts ability, Smeargle, who can learn any move, Zoroark, which can trick people, and just a few really good Pokemon throughout the entire team, let alone Clodsire, the absolute perfection of design. Next up was the Medali Mouseholds. This team started with Torkoal, letting everybody know that he was going for a Sun team. Next up, he got Great Tusk. Amazing Pokemon. I think everybody should be scared of that. Landorus, terrifying. Lucario, great typing. Has setup. Has priority. Chi-Yu is terrifying. And Ditto can turn into any of your Pokemon, copying the stat boosts. So it's really hard to set up against this team. Next in the draft was the Scale Chop Samurai. Their first pick was Hisuian Samurott. After talking to them later, we found out that they just picked most of their favorite Pokemon and just rolled with it. There's a few choices in there that weren't their favorites because their favorites were already drafted, but for the most part, it's just some of their favorite Pokemon. Krookodile and Gyarados are both terrifying on the defensive and offensive side because they have Intimidate and Moxie. Krookodile also has Anger Point, which could be scary if he somehow gets that to work. Sneasler has Unburden. Alolan Ninetales sets up both screens. Gliscor's just a beast on the defensive side. And I'm excited to see how fur it works. Next in the draft was the Wixom Wakes. I just want to say this right now. This team going into the draft, everybody knew that they were going to be a problem, as their coach is an amazing battler. Their first pick, Dragapult. You know that he's going to cause problems on the battlefield. Next up, Grimmsnarl. Perfectly covers Dragapult and can set up both screens and just has a lot of good priority moves that it can use with its ability. Next up, Jirachi, a mythical Pokemon, great typing, just scary all around. Every Pokemon on the list can be scary in some way. He has Monferno and Greninja for priority. He has Staraptor with the Reckless. He'll probably put a Choice Scarf on that. And just overall, everything's scary. Next up is Team Frigigigas. I gotta say, this might be my favorite logo of the entire draft. Not because it's a better quality than the rest, just because it's hilarious to me. He started with King Gambit, letting us know that he wants to have a scary team. Garganacl, extremely defensive. Volcarona, always scary. Goldengo, one of the best abilities, and just a decent typing and has good moves. Flygon, scary. Regieleki's the fastest Pokemon in the game. Espathra copies all stat changes that happen in front of it. Fortress can set up and remove hazards. Rotom Wash is just a great Pokemon overall. I think you need to be scared of this team. Next is the Gooning Gamblers, and they started with Meloetta because they wanted to gamble on relic songs, they told me. Then they have Hisuian Zoroark, I'm assuming to try to protect Meloetta in some way. Raging Bolt, who's just terrifying because of those priority thunderclaps. Sarina, which doesn't seem as scary, but I promise you that thing can do damage if you let it. Iron Bundle, extremely fast and has booster energy. Excadrill can set up spikes and stealth rocks and remove them. Comfy, priority healing, Talonflame, fast Brave Bird. Hisuian Quillfish and Carbink, super defensive. Last in the draft was the Striking Talons. They started off with two hard hitters of Iron Valiant and Iron Boulder. That is terrifying to think of. They also got Roaring Moon, Slitherwing, Walking Wake, Slacking, and Dusknoir. All those hit super hard. Weezing's good defense. Rotom Heat can help him paralyze so many Pokemon. Hisuian Electrode also can hit hard. Glaceon, scary on both sides. You can give it an Assault Vest, make it bulky, or you can just go all out offense where it has a good special attack stat. Moving on, we're going into the team changes. First change almost immediately after the draft ended. The Shellshocks and the Scalechop Samurai traded Smeargle and Malamar. Following that, the Wixom Wakes dropped Entei, Greninja, and Articuno for Incineroar, Landorus Incarnate, and Toxicroak, changing up the team comp immensely, but making it just as scary, if not more scary now. I think Incineroar is a better fire type. I think Landorus is super scary, and he already has Blastoise and Ogerpon Wellspring, so he didn't need the water typing, although he is missing out on Protean now. And he drops Articuno for Toxicroak, which I just think is a great choice because Articuno is not the bulkiest. Although you can make him work, I think Toxicroak could be scarier on his team composition. Following that, the Medali Mouseholds drop Venusaur, Lapras, and Dipplin for Kyurem and Calyrex. Calyrex was just the choice to get him up to the 10 Pokemon because one of the rules in this league is that you have to have at least 10 Pokemon on your team, but you can have up to 12. Kyurem is the highest base stat total in the entire draft that is not banned. Next up, the Striking Talons dropped Hisuian Electrode to pick up Torterra. Now, the Striking Talons have a ton of speed on their team, so they didn't need how fast Hisuian Electrode was, and Torterra can be terrifying if it sets up Shell Smash. And overall, it's just pretty bulky, as long as it doesn't get hit by an Ice-type move. Next up, the Goonin Gamblers dropped Excadrill for Garchomp. Now, everybody knows Garchomp is great. You can run him as a tank chomp, which can take hits as long as it's not an Ice type again. And you can also run it as offense and do like Swords Dance or something on it, which makes it terrifying again because it's already fast and strong. Next, the Shellshocks and the Goonin Gamblers decided to switch their Zoroarks. So now the Shellshocks will have Hisuian Zoroark, and Goonin Gamblers will have Unnovan Zoroark, meaning that they have completely different immunities now, changing the entire idea to plan against them. Next, the Goonin Gamblers also drop Talonflame and Tatsugiri to pick up Gouging Fire. Then, the Scalechop Samurai and Medali Mouseholds decide to trade Mousehold for Lucario. Before this, I know I've been referring to them as the Medali Mouseholds, but they did not have a team name. They were using a filler name that had Lucario in it, and they decided this was the perfect time to pick up their new team mascot. So now they have Mousehold, and the Scalechop Samurai have Lucario, changing the priority and typing for the Scalechop Samurai, and just how scary Mousehold can be for the Medali Mouseholds. Next, the Scalechop Samurai decided to drop Murkrow and pick up Magcargo as they realized they really needed a fire type on their team, and Magcargo can be defensive if you need it to, but it also has Shell Smash if you want to go on the offensive. Now, here are all the Terra Captains. I'll just go through them real quick. I won't tell you the types because you can just see them here, but the EV Elite pick Umbreon, Altaria, and Eevee as their captains. The Shellshocks picked Electros and Tinkaton. The Medali Mouseholds picked Mousehold, Ditto, and Calyrex. The Scalechop Samurai picked Furret and Magcargo. The Wixom Wakes picked Servine, Toxicroak, and Monferno. The Regigigas picked Flygon and Numel. And the Goonin Gamblers picked Sarina and Hisuian Quillfish. And the Striking Talons picked Alolan Dugtrio, Glaceon, and Slacking. Slacking, I don't know. Anyways, let's break this down. Umbreon was definitely a defensive pick. You just want to get the type change out there so that they can't hit you as hard as they think they can. Altaria can either be offensive or defensive, but it looks like the Terras were mainly for the defensive side. In Eevee, I think that they just want to sneak in some Eevee kills, and I think that's a great one, because Ghost type can make it so you can't kill it with a priority Mach Punch, and Normal can make it so that one of its moves can do a crap ton of damage. Next up is the Shell Shocks. It looks like he mainly went offensive on his two choices, but Tinkaton could still be used defensively, as Ghost type won't let them get rid of won't let them use Rapid Spin to get rid of anything on the ground, and Flying won't let them be hit by a ground type move. Medallion Mouseholds picked Mousehold because you gotta pick Mousehold. I mean, come on. Those Terra normal population bombs gonna do crazy damage, and Ghost lets it not get hit by a Mach Punch again. And then there's Ditto. Ditto is terrifying. It has to do Terra normal because that's its only type. Steel makes it resist a lot of things, and Fairy also makes it resist a lot of things, meaning that it can turn into something that you have boosted. And then Terra. That's terrifying to think of. And then Calyrex, I think, was just because they had extra Terra points. Then the Scale Chop Samurai are up. Now, there are banned Pokemon in this league for who can Terra and who can't, and Lucario is one of them, which is why he is not a Terra Captain. Bird is a Terra Captain because it can use Ghost type to make sure that you can't Rapid Spin again. Magcargo is there for a defensive and offensive side if you need it. It can live hits by tearing into one of its weaknesses, or tearing into its weakness, or what resists its weakness. And then there's the Wixom Wakes. This team is terrifying once again. Servine is mainly there because Pharaoh resists everything, and then it can have contrary Stellar Terra type, which I don't know if you know about, but it can boost your move every time you use a move, and that is scary to think of. Then Toxicroak, good offensive side, and Monferno has that fighting Terra for those Terra fighting Mach Punches with maybe a Choice Band, and also just like it can get Iron Fist Mach Punch, which is scary already, and then you can throw in the Terra. It's scary. Then the Regigigas, from what I understood, picked their Terras just because they needed to. I don't think they really planned on using them, although Terra Steel Flygon is very smart of them. I cannot blame them for that. Gooning Gamblers, Sarina, terrifying because it can hit hard and now it can resist things with steel. Or it can tear into one of its stabs and do even more damage. Then there's a Hisuian Quillfish, which is just super defensive. And then the Striking Talons have a Alolan Dugtrio, who's scary because he's a good lead. He learns Sucker Punch, and now he can tear into things that he used to he used to take super effective damage from. Then we have Glaceon, who can Terra Ghost to resist things and stop Rapid Spin, and can Terra Ice to do a ton of damage. And then Slacking, who will probably only Terra Normal, but maybe he'll do the other ones. I don't know his plans. But Terra Normal with Slacking, with Choice Band maybe, also terrifying to use. And that's the end of draft day. There's not much more to say. I hope you all enjoy week 1 videos, and I will give you a recap of those in a little bit.